Dropping plates, baby. Dropping plates. I haven't stopped thinking about that song since the first time I heard it.
Dude, it was
something.
It was very funny to me. Like this show is funny to me because you live in Columbus. I live in Vancouver. We've met in person one time, but like, you know, most of our show just kind of like when I tell people about the show, they're like, how do you have a show about nu metal with a guy from Columbus? And I'm like, fuck, I don't know. You know, it's like a weird thing to describe. And then this was even funnier because I hadn't even got into the album yet. So I didn't even know that there was a song called Dropping Plates or anything. So like 3 days ago, you know, you're in Columbus, you're 3 hours ahead of me. So I wake up at like 10 a.m. Pacific time to just a text from you. And all it says is dropping plates.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? And so that I think I texted you back. Like I think I tried to make it seem like I knew what you were talking about. I think I was like, yeah, dropping plates, man. You're like, that song is nuts. And I was like, okay, I think he's talking about Disturbed.
No, yeah, I think you actually said I haven't listened to the album yet, and I was like, oh, well, you're in for a fucking treat, buddy, because this is a top-notch album, which I just was all I could think about was this album, you know, in between my bouts of panic, which I've been having for the past 3 days. So you could say I've been down with the sickness too.
What have you been panicking about?
Chest congestion, basically. It's okay. I get it every year. So right, like I get a cold every year.
Yeah.
In the summer, I don't even think it's a cold. It's got to be allergies because it's always like right around the same time too.
Right. So it's just something is growing, and then it's that this is the time it grows.
Right. And every year, I think I have cancer when this happens. Every year. I never stop thinking that. And I'm always like, oh, time to go to the hospital and find out I'm dying. And then it goes away. And this year is a different sort of year. So I didn't think I had cancer, which is sort of progress. I thought I had the coronavirus for 2 days where I just even was like, so what I would do is I would go to Google and I would click the coronavirus tab on there and look up how I could get a test. Then I would go to the test site and I would take their online screening test. And it would say, you don't even have any symptoms. And I'd be like, well,
but you don't know.
Sure.
I mean, you're not here. Website. You don't have a stethoscope or anything. I mean,
yeah, I'm answering the questions all honestly because it's not like it's a low stakes survey, but I didn't have any. I mean, even the symptom I have was phlegm, which is like totally not coronavirus. They say it's dry, and I'm like, well, you know. I probably have a mutated version of it.
I have the wet coronavirus.
yeah. And
COVID-19.
I think I pulled a producer Dan and ate some bad food too, so I had some diarrhea, and I just spent days thinking I was flipping out. I was just flipping out, and then, you know, today I started to feel better today, and I was like, oh,
that's good.
Well, that wasn't coronavirus. That was the cold I get every year and think I have cancer. Well, at least I didn't think I had cancer this time.
Yeah, so it's all relative, realistically. I mean, I'm definitely a hypochondriac, so this like COVID thing has not been great. It's not been great for us hypos out there. It's a tough because I never had allergies ever. And then I would say like the last probably like 2 or 3 years, maybe once I got into my 30s, it was like, okay, you have allergies now. But then I forget about that because I never had allergies for 30 years of my life. So I just think I don't have allergies. So then now it's like I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be like a little bit congested, a little bit like I'll cough a little bit. Maybe I'll have a couple sneezes. And then I'm the same as you. I'm like, well, fuck.
That's it, you know, and I live in
here it is.
I live in the coronavirus country, the coronavirus capital of the world.
That's true. You do. Yeah. Like in BC, Florida had 10,000 cases today. And I think BC's had like 2,500 since it started. So
yeah. Ohio,
we're doing a little better.
My county is like actually like they have this 4-tier system here, and they have us at level 3, but they also put a star on it that said, "Hey, you're pretty close to level 4." I was like, but they're not doing anything about it. That's what I think is so funny about it.
Like, you don't want to be level 4?
Okay. Yeah. It's like they're not even doing anything about it. So it's like, okay,
like, hey, whatever.
On to phase 2 to reopening the economy. Like,
yeah, it definitely is. It's weird that like America just decided like, God, we're just whatever.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's over.
It's crazy.
It's like, oh, it's over. Or like, whatever. Everyone's gonna get it. So like, fuck. Who cares?
Well, somebody posted about it. I think people just got bored with it. We do that. I mean, I don't think that's a uniquely American thing where like we just get bored with shit and we decide it's not the news anymore. But I think like we're really good at it. We because like it's so bleak to look at the news here. All the time. Like look at the president is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like we're just like I just don't even like. I'm tired of this. Let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like it's weird in that like Twitter's really good for that kind of thing, but it's also very bad in that like I feel like if this happened in the time of newspapers or even just like the TV news in the evening, then people would probably take it a lot more seriously, I think. Because you're only getting like one update a day. And the newspaper can print a giant, like 92-point font headline being like, stay inside or whatever. And then you're like, fuck, the newspaper's telling me to stay inside. I better stay inside. I mean, whereas like Twitter is just like all day, every day shit talking.
I mean, the thing that has blown my mind the most about this, and I guess it's something that, people from the outside might be able to see, even people that live here can see, is how much we hate each other in this country. It's absolutely incredible how much we hate each other. Like just it is the mask thing here where it's like, if you wear a mask, you're a big giant pussy, but if you don't wear, like, you know what I mean? Like people are like ready to fight each other about like this thing that is a very simple solution to not even a solution. It's just kind of like, oh, if you're going to go to the fucking bar, and then I was reading in Texas, Vanilla Ice has a show.
Yeah. He canceled
the end of this week. Oh, did he? Coward.
Yeah. He canceled it under pressure. He couldn't handle it.
It's like new metal. Also, I like there's a new metal festival coming up in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Herd Immunity Fest that Nonpoint dropped off. So good on you, Nonpoint. And I think another band did. But
there's I was saying, I think I tweeted this, like, it's like a quote new metal festival, but there's like 2 new metal bands on it. And then the rest of it is like AC/DC and Aerosmith cover bands.
Yeah. It's
isn't like, it's like just because Dope is the headliner or Static X minus Wayne Static. I don't even know what they call themselves now. Well, they still call themselves Static X, but I guess Dwayne Static is now the lead singer or whatever. But
yeah, it's like it was Dope, Nonpoint. There were a few of them that were like real like C+ players back in the early 2000s that were playing this thing, and then they were just like, I ain't fucking doing this thing. I think one of them, Nonpoint, got shamed out of doing it by another metal band.
Oh, okay.
I believe I'm trying to, because somebody from another band quote tweeted them, and then they were like, "Oh, we ain't playing that fucking thing,"
Right.
So I don't know, man. That festival to me is like, I think I posted online. You could pay me $10,000 and I might like actually go to that concert.
Fuck yeah. It's pretty wild,
Yeah, they're not going to cancel it either. They just changed the name from Herd Immunity Festival back to
now
whatever it was before.
We're going to cure COVID festival or whatever. Like they're going, they're going. I don't know, but that's that's how they're going, like the opposite way. They're just like, well, people didn't like it when it was called Herd Immunity, but what if we called it like God Saves the Children or something? Then people might be like, wow, this is important.
Right. It's also sponsored by a radio station. I find this thing fascinating, and I don't think they're going to cancel it because I really do think like there's this push to get a concert in. You know, everybody wants to do a concert, but it's like go to fucking Canada or like
no,
Japan.
Don't come here. Don't come to Canada. We don't want it here.
We'll go somewhere where there's less people dying. We ain't got to do it here, you know.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. We have less people dying here, so don't bring non-point. Don't come here and put on a show in Saskatoon.
Balance it out.
Needs it.
You know.
No, we're good. We're fine. You
know,
know,
just balance it out a little bit. It'll help.
People don't want to hear us talk about this though.
Oh,
they don't care. Although I will say one funny thing before we wrap this virus talk is that I found an article because obviously, you know, people who listen to the show know that every month at the end of the episode, we look over some articles from the time period, and the Disturbed song Down with the Sickness surged in sales due to the coronavirus.
That's good for them.
I mean, Down with the Sickness actually charted.
You know how different
in March it remade the charts because enough people were like, "Hey, that song has the word sickness in it."
That's why
fire it up.
Realize how different that is, though, from like if this was like a 9/11 thing, they would have like not. They would have been like, "We're not playing Down with the Sickness."
Yeah, we're not playing any songs related to illness. They'd be like, that's it. We can't play any songs with illness in them." There was that one Antlers album, Hospice, that was just like about their friend dying of cancer. That album's off the shelves. We can't have any Taylor Swift wrote that song about her mom having cancer. That's canceled. Any type of illness song would be over if it were 9/11. That's true.
Once they put us in control of the music, we were like, we're fucking sick, man. You know, that was the same thing. That was the same thing with the movies. You know, you would go on iTunes in March and it would be like the top movies were like Contagion and stuff like that. Like it just shows how little they thought we could handle in the 90s, you know, like we just or in the early 2000s. Cause like Let the Bodies Hit the Floor isn't even like, it doesn't even sound like something that would have anything to do with 9/11. It was like some guy sitting in an office, right? That was just like, he heard those words and he was like, what if somebody like thought about the people that jumped out of the buildings? You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I think part of the problem was that America was turning to, they were looking at it as like education. I think that's been the issue with coronavirus is people are like, down with the sickness. Now, is that going to tell me what to do if this gets really bad? Like, I feel like that's why movies like Contagion and there was like that other one. Wasn't there one just called Pandemic or something that was on Netflix that went way up the charts or whatever? And I honestly feel like it's almost like how porn has like completely replaced sex ed now. It's like you don't even, you know, kids are like, you know, they've already seen porn when they're 12 and they don't need to be told like, you know, they don't need to be taught sex ed anymore. It's like that. It's like, well, I don't need to listen to like a doctor or a scientist. Like I can just watch this 2-hour Matt Damon vehicle and learn all I need to know about coronavirus, you know?
There was a fucking documentary called Coronavirus. As soon as it happened.
Yeah.
That was the freakiest thing, really. That was when I start becoming conspiracy guy. Like, well, how'd you have that done already? I mean, come on.
Yeah. I think you're already like, you're a conspiracy guy anyway.
I mean,
like,
I like
like
them.
You're not, but you're always looking for one that you could latch on to.
Always. I'm into 5G now. I'm really,
that's your new thing.
I love it. Me and Brett actually found it's like a jump drive, like a portable storage for a computer, right? And they're selling it as a thing that'll build a 5G force field around you for actually 26 meters diameter around you. And it's $700 for 3 of them. and it really is just a USB drive.
I mean, it's a pretty good deal. You get 3 of them. I mean, you protect the whole family for $700. I mean, what can I argue with that?
You would protect the whole block. And the thing is, like, I was trying to figure out how you use it, right? Because like you can't use it, you can't carry your laptop everywhere, so you can have a USB drive plugged into it, you know? But
yeah, you're just always carrying a messenger bag just with like the the drive plugged in.
But that's the genius thing about this drive is it doesn't even have to be plugged in. You just have to have it on you.
Oh yeah, that's how USB drives work. That's how I've always got them to work. I just put them in my pocket and the files magically appear on my computer.
It's just fucking great. Like I'm always into like the conspiracy profiteers. It's one of my favorite like kinds of people, you know, just somebody that's like everybody's flipped out about 5G. I'm going to make t-shirts and tell them that it keeps 5G out.
Oh yeah, of course. Because it's so easy to just throw in a few buzzwords. Oh, it's this t-shirt's made of cyber mesh. And people are like, oh fuck, I mean cyber mesh. I mean we got to have that. I mean my t-shirt's just made of cotton. So
somebody say I like the idea of we gotta have that. I mean that's the most important shit.
It sounds so incredibly important.
I think like if you tell people there's copper in something, they'll fucking buy into it immediately.
Right.
That's the
move.
move.
Have copper wire, you know, so it's like those are the, you know, that's the protected wire. So we know that science really should hold for everything, I think.
Yeah, people fucking love copper, man. Like I know that like people wear like copper bracelets,
right? Yeah,
and necklaces and stuff like that. I should just sell copper. You know,
we should sell copper. That should be our new. We'll sell copper bracelets that say like the P.O.D. cast on them or whatever, or like keep on rolling, or you know something cool like that. Speaking of this podcast, it is a podcast where ostensibly we review new metal. This month, as I said off the top of the program, we are reviewing Disturbed's The Sickness. And before I get to the album stats, Bryan, what was your your sort of general history with the band Disturbed?
Hated them, actually. Was not a fan. Did not give them much of a chance, though. They were late arrivals, right?
Yeah, this album came out in 2000.
Yeah, so I'm already into this shit for 5 years at that point, and in 2000 shit had, you know, this is post Follow the Leader, I believe. This is after Significant Other, and it kind of felt like the wave was cresting, and I didn't want to be perceived as liking the new popular stuff. So I kind of avoided them, but I did see them live a bunch of times just by virtue of being at Ozfest. You know, I would go to Ozfest.
It seemed like they played Ozfest like every year, basically.
Yeah. I mean, they were there a lot and I got to see them. And, you know, I always liked their heavy covers, you know?
Yeah.
Like Sounds of Silence is one of the funniest songs I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But I did always like Land of Confusion. Like I always got really into it. I think I like it better than the original Land of Confusion.
Okay. Yeah, I think some people say that about their covers, like about Shout, which is on this album, which we'll get to, and you know, obviously people like Sound of Silence, not me, but
Cops. That's Cops. Music.
Yeah, that's a big
If you go on TikTok, like you can find cops doing TikToks to the Sounds of Silence in their cars. Seriously, like a large amount of cops like the Sounds of Silence by David Draymond.
Right, because that's as emotional as they'll allow themselves to get.
Yeah,
they're like, I'm not gonna go all the way. I'm not gonna listen to the original. I'm not gonna listen to like folk music. Like I'll listen to a folk song, but it's got to be sung by a guy with multiple facial piercings. That's the only way it's gonna work for me. You know?
You have to see you have to be careful when you talk about the Sounds of Silence cover though too, because like people will be inspired by it in really weird places, you know, where you're just like talking about it ironically, and then all of a sudden somebody's like, that song saved my life.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's not really a lot you can say about that other than it's weird if that's the song that saved your life. But if it saved your life, then hey, that's great. You know,
right.
What, you know, I think you're allowed to have levels to accepting songs as songs that save people's lives. I think it's okay to be like, oh, maybe that song shouldn't be the song, you know.
I think one thing that is going to happen is in 20 to 30 years, that's going to be like the funeral song. That is like that song, yeah. Mad World. Remember Mad World?
Oh yeah, of course. Gary Jules, you know, it's always Tears for Fears somehow gets involved in this, you know. Tears for Fears is just a little bit too fifi for cops and like, you know, tough guys who think that wearing a mask makes you a pussy, like that kind of guy.